I'm sure I'm not the only one who does this, but you know when you watch a movie or play a game and get way too into it? That's me every time I play Gran Turismo. A couple of races in and I'm posing as a car enthusiast.
I just love the way it feels when everybody thinks I own a Porsche.
The last time I played the series, I was watching Top Gear nightly and pretending I was the Stig when I'd drive my car. If you haven't figured it out yet, I don't actually know much about cars. So at some point in this episode, I'm gonna say something stupid like,
"What's wrong, Rick? Is it the quantum carburetor or something?"
And I'm ready for the barrage of comments about it.
Jesus, Morty, you can't just add a sci-fi word to a car word and hope it means something.
Thing is, the last time I played Gran Turismo, I was absolute trash. The F1 cars were the only ones I could keep on the track. Anytime I'd use a regular car, I'd be slamming every wall and flying off the track while the game kept flashing warnings like,
"Sammy, you have to stay on road, Sammy, otherwise car will break down. Oh, Sammy, you are wrecking the car."
But I never listened. The game did its best to give me racing lines and notifications on when to brake, but every time a race started, I kept to my strategy.
Floor it?
Yes. No, don't floor it.
Floor it?
No, don't floor it.
Okay, floor it!
No.
Turns out Gran Turismo 5 just wanted me to be a bad driver, and now in Gran Turismo 7, I can confidently say,
but that just isn't me.
My name's Joel, I'm a game designer, and today we're going to be looking at how new tech has made Gran Turismo 7 the most accessible racing sim experience I've ever had. It's amazing to think back at what we played as kids. I brought out the N64 and tried playing GoldenEye, and the only thing I could think was, how did I used to play this? The controller just wasn't built for shooters, but somehow we managed. We made it through the buggy motion controls of the Wii, PlayStation Move, and Xbox Kinect.
And you can see the sword following my movements one to one.
Before buying Gran Turismo 7, I was worried that I'd need to buy a racing wheel to have any hope of enjoying the game, because I remember how difficult it was to play on a DualShock 2. The triggers had no wiggle room between no gas and flooring it. Then trying to steer with an analog stick means you have about an inch between going straight and turning as hard as possible. But something magical happened when I started playing Gran Turismo 7. It finally made me fall in love with the PS5 controller. I liked it a lot before, but it was just another controller. The weighted triggers, built-in speaker, and all the other bells and whistles just felt like gimmicks to me. But in GT7, the PS5 controller has become an extension of the game's assists, which helps players who aren't committed enough to buying a full racing setup enjoy the game.
Let's get it on.
You any good?
And I love this, because not only does it make the game better for people like me, it'll help future games out too. Games cost a lot of money to make, so oftentimes developers will have to justify their features to their publishers or project managers. I've seen features I was really excited about get cut because I couldn't reference a game that had executed my idea or a similar one successfully. So even though this is a minor thing, it's just haptics on a controller, the idea and execution behind it has me excited to see what else could be done with the controller. The haptics in the PS5 controller let you feel the road, with localized rumbling and the triggers pulsing as the tires lose traction. The longer draw distance on the triggers and the added weight to them keep me from constantly flooring it. And all these features work together to wrestle me down when I inevitably ignore the game's warnings to brake.
Hey, listen to me. Hey, mucho take it easy.
Then the best part is that you can use the gyroscope in the controller to steer, which is surprisingly accurate. I still prefer the analog stick, and I did better without the motion-controlled steering, but it's fun to use, if a bit awkward to hold the controller up like a steering wheel. So I know right now this Gran Turismo 7 review is sounding a lot more like,
Woo! All praises to the PlayStation. Yeah! Yeah!
Okay, bye.
but it's how they use the hardware that finally made me understand sim racing. I tend to play more arcade-style racing games. In Gran Turismo 5, I only used the F1 cars and drove the Top Gear test track. In Gran Turismo 7, it's become an addiction trying to beat my lap times. I'm actually paying attention to my cornering speeds and pushing the cars to the edge of losing control. I'm memorizing the course layouts, and the more the game teaches me through its licenses and challenges, the more assists I find myself turning off. Hell, even the NASCAR races, which used to be boring because all I did was,
I'm gonna drive and I'm gonna go fast and I'm gonna turn to the left sometimes.
well, they're fun now because those are the races I play with the gyroscope controls. And it's good that I can make those fun because they're the easiest ones to earn money in. GT7's made a bunch of different race types fun for me to play. And it's largely in part because of the controller and how it's made sim racing actually playable. And the ease of accessibility means convincing someone to play split screen with me is easier than ever.
That's not bad for a quadruped. You gotta check your mirrors, just the side of your eye.
Some of the most fun I had was racing my hippie van against a hypercar because my friend kept getting reset for leaving the track.
Don't drive angry. Don't drive angry.
More games should have local multiplayer. Everybody likes to play games together when their friends come over. In movies, there's a saying.
Show, don't tell, right?
In games, we have do, don't show.
That was too close.
For most of the game, Gran Turismo does this well. They have license tests where the game will teach you about racing lines, how to take a corner, how going uphill or downhill affects the turning of a car. They have challenges where you have to overtake the other cars within a set distance, knock down all the cones on a track as fast as possible, or control a car in a slipstream to get the highest top speed possible. And this is all great for helping me get good at driving, but those tutorials don't extend to anything else in the game. If you want help learning to customize a car, here's a text box. Try and figure it out. If you're not familiar with how cars work, you might find it hard, like me, to customize them.
Well, I don't know how to do it neither, but I know that's how you're supposed to do it.
The game only gives text explanations for the parts, and they're not all helpful. I bought whatever was the most expensive and hoped it would do what I thought it would.
Hey, Lila, help me apply these flame decals I got in my cereal. They'll make the ship go faster.
And what's your scientific basis for thinking that?
I'm 12.
Most of the time, that worked, but the supposed best upgrades in the game allow you to fully customize things, like the car's suspension or gear ratios, and I have no idea what I'm doing there. I'd be looking for presets or some help, but the game just sits back and lets me ruin a car. Speaking of letting me ruin a car, I'm not artistic at all, but I wanted to take a moment to point out the customization in Gran Turismo. They'll let you do basically anything to your car short of blocking the windshield.
This sticker is dangerous and inconvenient, but I do love picnics.
And I noodled with this for a bit, which was fun, but they need to let you download other users' designs because everything I made is shit. And I'd just get upset every time I saw how ugly my car design was.
This is flaming dragon.
Anyway, back to tuning your cars. The game has a rating system it calls performance points, which are meant to help you evaluate which cars are roughly equal to each other. But it's not accurate. These systems are never accurate.
Damn it!
They can't be. It's not the developer's fault. There's just too many factors that go into what makes a car good. Top speed, acceleration, braking, handling. The course you're on will affect it too. I souped up a hippie van and made it so fast it could win some races. But when I took it to others where it was apparently the strongest car in the field, I couldn't win the race no matter how hard I tried, because on some tracks my van could take every turn without braking. So those upgraded brakes I paid for, which made me think I had a big pee-pee, well, they did nothing to help me win. I really wish Gran Turismo did a little bit more to teach me about cars so that I wouldn't be so reliant on the performance point system. Because the first grade 3 racing car I bought, I ended up hating. I just saw it had a large pee-pee and was affordable. Then, even after I slapped a bunch of upgrades on it, it was one of the worst ones in my garage. It wasn't until I got a better car that I learned expensive upgrades couldn't fix a car's problems.
This car's fine. I just had a service a week ago.
Not a good one.
Yes, a very good one. Very expensive. This car's as good as new. Relax.
So, what brilliant ideas do I have to improve Gran Turismo? Well...
Nothing. No ideas. Useless, empty brain.
Okay, obviously I have some ideas. There's easy stuff like UI improvements, but the menus are stylistic to the franchise. As stupid as I find it that I have to go to the garage to change my car, it does feel authentically Gran Turismo. And for the big changes I'd want to do, even I know they're dumb. My first suggestion would have producers laughing me out of the room because I'd want to remove microtransactions.
You serious?
I don't like them because I can see how they've warped the design. It's never hurt me, but that's because I don't care about any of the cars. For car fanatics who know the historical significance of some of the legend cars, or who are just avid collectors, I'm sure it can feel annoying trying to get them all. If you just want to race around in a couple cars and have fun, the currency isn't restricting. But some cars are only available for limited times through special invites, and there are 3 separate menus to buy cars through. All of them have rotating supplies, and that kind of design is only there to push car lovers to monetize by weaponizing their fear of missing out.
Where is it? Where is it? They stole it from us.
And the game's economy is messed up in other ways to push players towards paying more too. Like, what purpose is there to having cars wear out? No player is going to complain about the lack of realism if they didn't have to waste money on oil changes or fixing a car's engine. It'd be like a shooter fan being upset that their gun never jams. Look, these aren't the worst I've seen, and they're funding Polyphony so that they can keep updating the game with free tracks and new cars, so I'm not going to harp on them anymore. The big thing I would suggest for Gran Turismo to do is help non-racers get into the sport. Sure, there are text boxes and wonderful little history lessons about the cars, but that's not going to make people who aren't interested in sim racing buy the game. There's not even a career mode. Collecting cars through menus is the story, which is pretty weak. The only reason I got into the series in the first place was because I loved Top Gear and I wanted to go around the test track. So why isn't there more of that? The game's challenges are all fun to do, but the framing is boring. Of course, we want to make sure the game appeals to racing enthusiasts first and foremost. So absolutely, keep the licenses, the time trials, and track practice sections all about serious racing. But why are the missions basic too? They're clearly not serious because some of the missions are about knocking over pylons as quick as you can. Then in others, the game lets you drag race against cars, but you get to bring any car from your garage. I would bring my $1 million car and go up against a minivan and absolutely destroy the competition. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the drag racing challenges, and I milk that victory no matter how unfair the race was.
What an asshole.
But if the challenges are supposed to be the for fun mode, then go all in. Where's the challenge where you outrun the cops after a bank heist and pretend like you're Baby Driver? Why not make me drive a Mini Cooper through a house and pretend I'm in the Italian Job? Or take some inspiration from Top Gear and make me drive a car while evading an attack helicopter's lock-on system.
He's got yellow! Oh no!
They don't have to be officially licensed movie challenges, but let's have some fun with these. Make a challenge where the AI is trying to ram me off the road for a change, and I have to reach the finish line within a time limit. Let challenges be a stupid mode that can get people who aren't interested in sim racing to at least try the genre out.
Very interesting.
I'm sure some racing purists think that sounds pretty stupid, but giving casual players a gateway to enter the genre is important for growing the community. And I care about that a lot because if I hadn't bought GT7 on a whim, I'd be missing out on what is probably one of my favorite PS5 games right now. And sure, the challenges I suggested have a tonal clash with the game's aesthetic, but even the racing enthusiasts out there would probably prefer more involved missions like recreating miracle laps or the greatest comebacks from the history of the sport over the generic missions that exist now. All I'm asking for is a little bit of set dressing. It's not like I want a custom engine building mode like automation, even though that would be pretty cool. And the game's shown that it's willing to let its hair down and have some fun sometimes. I mean, in a standard race, the AI takes all the turns properly, but the game lets me drive like an absolute maniac, ignoring the turn and flying by at ludicrous speed. Sometimes. But then other times the game decides to be serious and that the tone must be upheld, and it resets me. And both of these clips are from the exact same race, so you can't tell me it's an issue with the settings. I know there are settings for how severely the game will punish you when you leave the track. So now it just feels arbitrary, like the game just wants to throw a fit.
This guy just didn't want to admit I got so fast.
So yeah, I made a whole video where I have a long-winded rant about how a sim racing game doesn't have enough stupid races. All because I don't want others to miss out on a game I almost did. I thought I'd need a racing wheel or more racing experience, but that's not the case at all. If you have any interest in racing games, Gran Turismo might be worth your time. If you're not into motorsports, it won't do much to change that. And the mileage you get is gonna vary based on how fun you find improving your lap times or racing online is. I'd recommend at the very least downloading the free demo to try it out and experiencing how awesome the PS5 controller is. Wait, there's no free demo? Seriously, Polyphony, what are you doing?
So you've actually wasted everybody's time, haven't you?
A bit, yeah. A bit. And on that terrible disappointment, it is time to end.